6 drivers eliminated in one night. Shane van Gisbergen is all that's left. This isn't clickbait. 6 of NASCAR's biggest names watched their championship hopes die in a single race. And when the smoke cleared, only SVG remained standing. And honestly, the gut-wrenching injustice of this makes me sick. Regular fans invest everything in these drivers, yet the system is bleeding them dry, discarding them like broken parts because their season didn't go perfectly. It is a ruthless execution proving this sport cares about nothing but the bottom line. But look past the surface outrage. These 6 drivers aren't just victims of bad luck. They got caught in the chase cutoff trap, a system designed to self-destruct, shifting all the risk from the rule makers onto the drivers. Let me show you exactly how this works, and why only one man, SVG, walked out alive. Personally, I think SVG's survival was a masterclass in strategy, not luck. Do you agree? Tell me below. And if no one is asking the hard questions about NASCAR's broken system, you're in the right place. Subscribe. To understand what happened that night, you need to understand one thing first. The 2026 season changed everything. NASCAR threw out the old playoff system. Winning a race no longer guaranteed you a spot. Only the top 16 in the standings after 26 races would make the chase. That might sound simple. It was anything but. The new system created what the garage calls the chase cutoff trap. Every position, every single point matters more than ever. One bad finish can drop you 5 spots. One mistake can end your entire season. By the time we reached the final race of the regular season, positions 14 through 22 were separated by fewer points than a single mistake costs you. One accident, one mechanical failure, one bad pit stop, and your championship hopes were gone. SVG sat in 16th place. That meant he was holding on to the final playoff spot by his fingernails. Behind him, a pack of hungry drivers were circling, desperate to take his place. The weeks leading up to that night had been pure torture for the 97 team. SVG had dominated the road courses all season. Watkins Glen, Sonoma, he won both. But the oval tracks? That's where his season almost fell apart. A crash in San Diego dropped him to 17th. He was fighting for his life every single weekend. One more bad race and he was done. But here's what most people don't understand about Shane van Gisbergen. The man doesn't panic. When everyone else is losing their minds, he gets calmer. When the pressure is highest, he drives his best. That's why he was still alive going into that final night. That's why he was the one everyone was chasing. That's why what happened next stunned the entire garage. The entry list for that final race read like a who's who of NASCAR talent. Champions, race winners, rising stars. All of them had one goal: beat SVG, take that final playoff spot. The garage area was buzzing with nervous energy. Crew chiefs were huddled over laptops, calculating point scenarios. Drivers were pacing, studying the track map, trying to find any advantage they could. The weight of the moment was visible on every face. Some drivers looked confident, others looked terrified. This wasn't just another race. This was survival. One team principal was so scared of what was coming, he told his driver to take risks he'd never take. The driver didn't listen. That decision cost him everything. The green flag dropped, and from the very first lap, you could feel the weight of every point on every driver's shoulders. The bubble drivers knew their seasons were on the line. The team owners knew millions of dollars hung in the balance. The track was treacherous that night. Temperatures were high, making the tires wear faster than expected. The surface was slick, and drivers were struggling to find grip. It was a recipe for disaster. Every driver in that playoff bubble was taking chances they normally wouldn't take. They had to. Playing it safe meant finishing mid-pack, and mid-pack meant elimination. The first few laps were chaotic. Cars were sliding around, fighting for position, taking risks that would have been unthinkable in a normal race. This wasn't normal. This was do or die. The first caution came out on lap 12. A car coasted to a stop on the apron. The engine was dead. The season was over. The driver climbed out and walked away. No helmet throw, no fist pump, just the quiet resignation of a man who knew his championship dreams had just evaporated. The crew chief was on the radio, trying to find answers, but there were no answers. The math was simple. The points gap was too big. The driver was done. Who was he? A veteran driver who had fought all season to stay relevant. He had clawed his way into contention, only to watch it all disappear in a cloud of smoke. His season ended not with a bang, but with silence. The first driver eliminated. His team packed up the car in silence. No one spoke. There was nothing to say. The championship was over, and everyone knew it. The television broadcast showed his family in the stands. They were crying. He had promised them this was the year. It wasn't. This was just the first elimination. But there was a much bigger threat waiting just a few laps away. The race settled into a rhythm. The leaders checked out. SVG was running mid-pack, avoiding trouble, keeping his nose clean. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't flashy, but it was smart. While other drivers were fighting for positions, SVG was fighting for survival. Every lap he completed was one lap closer to securing that playoff spot. Every caution he avoided was one more point in his favor. But not everyone was playing it safe. Another driver saw a gap that wasn't really there. He tried to force a move on the inside. His car slid up the track and caught the wall. The right side of his machine was destroyed. The impact was brutal. The car spun across the track, collecting debris, scraping the wall with sparks flying everywhere. When it finally came to a stop, the right rear tire was gone. The suspension was shattered. He limped back to pit road with smoke pouring from the rear. The crew lifted the hood and shook their heads. Too much damage, too little time. This one hurt different. This driver had won races this season. He had speed, he had talent, but he didn't have patience. And in this system, patience was everything. Second driver eliminated. The garage area went quiet. 2 drivers down, 4 more still fighting. The pressure was mounting with every passing lap. His crew chief threw his headset against the pit box. Months of work, years of preparation, all gone because of one reckless move. The sponsors were already on the phone. They wanted answers. There were no answers to give. The season was done. 2 drivers down already. But the garage was only beginning to feel the heat. The biggest names were still to come. The race continued. The bubble drivers were getting desperate. Every caution, every restart, every battle for position carried the weight of a championship. One driver was pushing too hard. He had to. His points position was too precarious. Playing it safe wasn't an option. He had to gain spots. He had to take chances. Then came the moment that changed everything. A massive crash in turn 2. The kind of wreck that leaves you speechless. Cars everywhere. Debris scattered across the track. The red flag came out, and the entire garage went silent. The replays were brutal. One car got turned sideways, and there was nowhere to go. Driver after driver piled in, metal flying, tires bouncing across the track. It was the worst crash of the season. One of the biggest names in the sport was caught in the middle. His car was destroyed. His championship hopes were over. He climbed out and stood on the track, watching the carnage unfold. He didn't say a word. He just stood there, helmet in hand, staring at what used to be his season, a former champion.